Oh, look, I had a friend at uni. He was my lecturer, Norman Bromberger, white South African, big chap, very overweight. Overweight because he was actually depressed. He felt inferior. He was an academic lecturer, but he didn't feel he was one of the whiz kids. Made him such a good teacher. Understanding of how difficult it was to learn certain concepts for some of us, and understanding when it came to teaching, and methodical, trying to present it in a very simplest of steps at a pace one could keep with, not trying to impress us in any way that he was the brilliant professor, you know. He's retired now, but I suppose he's still alive. No, probably not. But anyway, he became associate professor back in South Africa when he returned. Had an interesting background was interrogated for 90 days by the white regime. He was white himself, but his family were religious and lived in the black area. And so he's seen as an enemy of the state, wouldn't he? So he escaped from the regime one way and another, and came to New Zealand. Came to England, teaching in this new university, Essex. Do you see, he was brought up by an intensely religious family. I suppose, I think they were definitely Pentecostal. Whatever that meant, I had no idea at the time. Very colourful fundamentalists. I'd call them spiritual brethren, as opposed to dyed-in-the-wool brethren, you know. Probably the spirituality that all the denominations had originally, whether they were Methodist or Salvation Army or anything else. They may have died as the centuries passed, but they were utterly alive originally, full of praise and worship and the miraculous and outreach and saving people. Bless them. I mean, very narrow too, but wanting to be so loving originally. And I don't mean that individuals aren't in such denominations even now. Such people crop up everywhere, even in the secular world, just as much, in fact. Well, that's my impression anyway. Where were we? Norman. Yes, he became my friend. We did weightlifting together. He would invite me back to his house and his wife, you know. We would get in, I can't remember now, but something like, don't think it was pizzas in those days, was it? Well, no, I don't think so. I think it was, anyway, fast food, you know, and burgers or something, whatever it was. I was not vegetarian then, you know. And every now and again I'd be invited there, and I'd give him a lift home in the car. I can't remember why I was doing that. He must have had trouble with his car or something. That's strange, isn't it? I can't remember. I don't think he had a car. Would he have been an academic without a car? He wasn't cycling. Did he come in by bus? Why was I often giving him a lift? Perhaps he was down to one car at some point. I don't know. But anyway, he became a great friend. And, you know, what was I experiencing? His love and kindness. Doing things together. I mean, he had a separate family life to me. I mean, he rented a house in the Dutch Quarter. same lady as I and my first wife. Because of that association through him, came to rent in the Dutch Quarter as well. Although our lives had parted somewhat by then because I was then married. But what I wanted to say is, although he had become secular, in part because he realized the impracticality, I think, as he saw it, of his dad who died from a boil on his back that he wouldn't have medically treated because he and his wife were, he and his mum, his mum and dad rather, were trusting that God would heal it. And he didn't. Dad died. Whether this was the profound thing that was the nail in the coffin, so to speak, of his religious life, I don't know. But for whatever reason, he became secular, earnestly secular. But of course he had the values that he'd been brought up with his mum and dad. Honesty, integrity. He wouldn't use university note paper for private use. He was honest, he was faithful and true. Do you see his fellowship and friendship was reinforcing or transforming, I'm not sure which, my character, wanting to go in that direction too. So he unwittingly was part of, I think, why I wanted God to exist in the end. Not almost, it happened. Well, when it did happen, he was just devastated that I should. You don't really believe in that stuff, do you? I mean, he was appalled, and suddenly he felt there was a wall gone up between us. I didn't, but I knew he did. And we were estranged from then on, really. Such a shame. And yet my friend at school, Dennis, who was my guardian and protector and closest friend, a year older than me, married the girl I sat next to in class, in my class. Certainly by the time he was living in Australia, he became earnestly Christian, fundamentalist Christian, not quite my non-fundamentalist view, non-conforming view. And I don't think charismatic or Pentecostal, not colourful, more sort of, I don't know what we would call Baptist or Brethren or something. I don't know. People change. I changed. Perhaps you haven't had such a major change in your life. Well, I certainly don't want you to change the wrong way, from loving God to completely disowning the whole notion of such. That would be awful. My last wife did that, and I'm still suffering the consequences of it. Well, I refuse to suffer the consequences of it. I'm enjoying the blessings that have flowed from the consequences of it. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. It's a different view to life, you see. We trust in his provision and benevolence And the more we trust, the more we see. If you like, the fruits of such trust, but really the fruits of his loving kindness and care. You need God, it's as simple as that. Kingdom of heaven is at hand. In fact, it's within you. When you want God, you'll find he was there all the time, blessing and caring for you to this moment and every moment into the future. Bless you, and you are blessed. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.